In 2019, the U.S. women's national team got their fourth World Cup title. The U.S. defeated the Netherlands 2-0 in a game that will go down in the history books. This was a momentous occasion that the United States national team would take to their advantage. However, this win was a validation for the women. It proved to everyone that they were worth fighting for. Unlike the school system, professional soccer does not have a rule that states that men and women will be paid and treated fairly. But first, let's give a brief history of soccer. Earliest reference of soccer between women was between unmarried women during the late 19th century in Scotland and in parts of England. But in the States, it took a lot longer. We got our first women's soccer organization in 2001. The WUSA was the first professional women's soccer league. It was created in the year 2000, but it had to fold in 2003 after financial difficulties. The league still served as a good blueprint for leagues that followed after it. After the failure of the WUSA, a new soccer team emerged, the WPS. The WPS, which stands for Women's Professional Soccer, was founded in 2007. They began play in 2009. The league ultimately folded in 2012 after it struggled to expand and was facing financial problems. After the failure of the WPS comes the NWSL. The NWSL, which stands for National Women's Soccer League, consists of 9 teams. These 9 teams will play each other on multiple occasions. The NWSL was founded in 2012 and is the current soccer league for women in the United States. The level up after the NWSL is the women's national team. The women's national team is ranked number 1 in the world. This year they played in the World Cup and won. They have a roster consisting of 23 players and they have 1 head coach. The Women's World Cup is a highly renowned soccer tournament that is played every 4 years. There are 2 phases to the World Cup. It starts in the group phase, where the teams will play to qualify for the knockout phase. The knockout phase is what leads up to the semifinals and finals. After winning the World Cup, the women were outraged. They had won multiple times and they still did not get paid as much as the men did. Now, one trying to defend how the women get paid currently may reference Alex Morgan. Morgan has an estimated net worth of $3 million, but most of her wealth comes from her signing business deals with multiple companies. Most of the United States women's national team play at the club level in the National Women's Soccer League, or the NWSL. Their minimum yearly salary in the NWSL is in the region of $16,583. That means that the minimum salary for the women does not meet living wage standards. In March 2019, members of the United States women's national team sued the U.S. Soccer Federation over allegations of gender discrimination. 2 months after they sued, they got class certification, allowing them to call up any woman they wanted that had been on the national team over a multi-year period to state themselves in the lawsuit. After U.S. Soccer denied allegations of gender discrimination, all 28 members of the United States national team sued U.S. Soccer with the allegations of gender discrimination. 3 players have said that they have consistently been paid less money than their male counterparts, even though their performance has been superior to the men. Those members were Megan Rapinoe, Carly Lloyd, and Alex Morgan. Now let's talk about women's pay in comparison to men in other professions. This is a career progression chart for men. The blue represents ages 20 to 29, the green represents ages 30 to 44, and the yellow represents men who are over 45. Now this chart depicts the same thing but for women. Notice that more women will stay in one position for longer periods of time than men. This is evidence that proves that men will be promoted quicker than women. This graph compares women of different races to white men. It shows that women of color will have a much harder time progressing in their careers. According to this graph, there were no Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander women as directors or executives of companies. These graphs show that women of different races have a much harder time earning as much as white men do. It shows that they earn less than white men in all different job positions. This graph shows that women with the same level of education as their male counterparts do not get paid the same. According to this survey, less women are inclined to agree that they are paid fairly than men. This statistic shows that women make at least $10,000 less than their male counterparts at the same job, meaning that they are paid 82% of what the men get paid. This visual depiction also puts into play racial and ethnicity differences. Louisiana has the largest pay gap of 70%. The smallest pay gap in the United States is the state of California with a percentage of 88%. In the state of Virginia, our equal pay laws are weak. Women get paid 79% of what the men get paid. For a woman in the United States, the occupation with the largest wage gap is a legal occupation. In conclusion, women do not get paid as much as men in many different positions. This is a pay gap based purely on gender, and when race comes into play, it makes everything worse for these hardworking women. America is a country built on these ideals: equality, justice, and freedom. We should expect nothing less from a country this wonderful. I think that adults need to look at today's children and say, is this what I want for my child? And I think that all parents want what is best for their children. So do they really want their little girls to be paid differently than boys? The chances of that are slim, and that is why we need to show that we want equality now for everyone. And it does not depend on things like religion, race, or gender. It matters that we are all people and we all deserve equality. And these soccer players are proof that women are fed up waiting. We want to be treated fairly, and we have throughout history. So let's make these injustices history.